Laughing, my mom called me a loser and said, "Is it hard for you to give cash to your sister to buy a house?" I smiled. Next day I kicked sister and her husband out, and then when my mother laughed and called me a loser, I didn't react at first. I just smiled. She thought I was joking, that I was taking her words lightly, but I wasn't. The next morning at 7 a.m., I woke my sister and her husband and told them to pack their bags. For 8 months they had lived in my apartment, eating my food, using my electricity, and treating my place like a hotel they didn't have to pay for. They were both teenagers, barely adults, but they had decided to get married with no money, no jobs, and no plan. And somehow, I was the one paying the price for their decision. My apartment wasn't huge, just a 2-bedroom that I worked hard for. When my sister and her husband first asked to stay, they swore it would only be for a few weeks. They just needed time to figure things out. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into constant fighting, endless noise, and me financing their entire existence. None of it worked. Every time I brought up jobs, they had some excuse. My sister claimed she was looking for the right opportunity, and her husband, Adam, acted like working a regular job was beneath him. Meanwhile, I was the one paying for food, rent, utilities, everything. They weren't even trying to contribute. And the worst part? They didn't even appreciate it. They stayed up all night playing video games, blasting music, and yes, let's just say I heard way too much from the other room at night. I barely got any sleep. Every time I confronted them, they got defensive. "You're not supporting us," my sister would say. "We're family. Family helps each other." I was helping them. I helped them for 8 months. And what did I get in return? Disrespect, extra bills, and a headache that never went away. Then my mother came by. She hadn't visited much since they moved in. She and my stepfather had a nice house, a comfortable life, and they wanted nothing to do with my sister's mess. When she heard they needed a place to stay, she immediately shut them down. "We don't have any room," she said. Which was a lie. They had 2 extra bedrooms and plenty of money. But taking them in would have meant spending that money, and my mom didn't want to do that. So the burden fell on me. That day, she sat on my couch, sipping the coffee I made her, in the apartment I paid for, and she had the nerve to laugh at me. "Is it hard for you to give your sister money to buy a house?" she asked, as if I were the selfish one. At first I laughed, thinking she was joking. But she wasn't. She actually thought I should take my savings and give it to my sister and Adam so they could buy a house. Not a rental. Not help with a down payment. A full house. I just looked at her, waiting for the punchline. But she wasn't kidding. "You're her brother," she went on. "Why would you want her to struggle?" That's when it hit me she really didn't see a problem with it. She thought my whole purpose was to make her life easier. She didn't care how much money I had spent on them, how exhausted I was, how much they were ruining my life. I smiled and told her she had to go. The next morning, at exactly 7 a.m., I walked into my sister's room and turned on the light. "Wake up," I said. "Start packing." They sat up, half asleep and confused. "What?" my sister mumbled. "You're moving out," I said. "You're going to Mom's." At first they laughed, as if I was joking. But when I didn't laugh back, their faces changed. My sister immediately became defensive. "We can't just leave. Where are we going to go?" "I just told you. To Mom's." She looked at Adam, who was rubbing his eyes as if this was all just a bad dream. Then back to me. "She doesn't want us there." "That's not my problem," I said. She started begging, saying they just needed a little more time. I didn't care. Adam tried to act tough, but I quickly shut him down. By noon, they had packed their things into the car I had bought for them, and we were on our way to our mother's house. What happened next? Let's just say my mom was less than amused when they showed up on her doorstep. I pulled up to my mom's house, parked in the driveway, and turned off the engine. My sister and Adam sat in the back seat, quiet for once. I guess they were still hoping I'd change my mind. I didn't. Go ahead, I said. They didn't move. My sister crossed her arms. She's not going to let us stay here. I shrugged. That's between you and Mom. Adam looked angry, but what was he going to do? Complain? I had fed them, housed them, even bought them this damn car. And how did they repay me? By doing nothing and treating me like I owed them more. I grabbed their suitcases from the trunk and set them down by the front door. Then I rang the doorbell. My mom opened the door, took one look at the suitcases, and then at me. "What's this?" she asked. I smiled. "They need a place to stay. Like you said, they're young, they shouldn't be struggling, and family helps each other, right?" My sister and Adam stepped forward, giving her their best pitiful looks. "Mom, can we?" "No." She didn't even let them finish. My sister's mouth fell open. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean no. You're not staying here." Adam ran a hand through his hair. "Where are we going to go?" Mom sighed, as if this was somehow my fault. "Kyle, take them back. You know they can't stay here." I laughed. "That's not going to happen. You can't just leave them here." "I sure as hell can. They're your problem now." Then something happened that I didn't expect. My stepfather, Mark, walked into the doorway behind her. He looked at the suitcases, then at my mom, then at me. "Why can't they stay?" he asked. That shocked everyone. My mom turned around as if she had just been betrayed. "What?" "They're your kids," he said. "We have the room. Let them stay." My mom looked like she was going to strangle him. "Mark, you don't understand, Dash." "No, I do," he cut her off. "Kyle's been taking care of her for 8 months. It's our turn." I had never seen my mother so angry. She glared at me, then at my sister, then back at Mark. "They don't have jobs. They're lazy. They just sit around and do nothing." Oh, now she gets it?" I smiled. "Sounds familiar, doesn't it?" Mark turned to them. "You can stay. But on one condition, you both have to get jobs. Immediately." Adam looked uncomfortable. My sister hesitated. "Mom?" She was furious. This was turning out even better than I expected. But the real fun? That was yet to come. I could see the panic in my sister's eyes. Adam looked like he was trying to take it all in, still half expecting me to suddenly say, "Just kidding, get back in the car." But I wasn't kidding. Mark had just given them a lifeline, a place to stay on one condition. They had to get jobs. A reasonable request, considering they were both legal adults and had done nothing for 8 months. But my sister hesitated. Adam shifted uncomfortably. My mother, on the other hand, was furious. She grabbed Mark's arm and pulled him aside, whispering something I couldn't hear, her face contorted in frustration. Mark listened, arms crossed, nodding slowly. Then he said something back, too low for me to catch. I didn't need to hear it. I could guess. My mother had spent months telling me she didn't have room for them, that she and Mark couldn't afford to take them in. But suddenly, when I refused to be their babysitter anymore, Mark thought it was perfectly reasonable to let them stay. Oh, my mom hated that. I leaned against the car and waited. She could whisper and argue all she wanted, it wasn't my problem anymore. She finally turned around. "You can't just dump her like this, Kyle." "Actually," I said, "I can." She clenched her jaw. "They're your responsibility." I shrugged. "They're your kids." My sister cut in. "So we can stay?" Mark nodded. "As long as you both get jobs." Adam looked like someone had just threatened him with manual labor. "Like right now?" Mark didn't even blink. By the end of the week, my sister and Adam exchanged glances. I could already see the excuses forming. But what choice did they have? My mom clearly wasn't going to fight Mark on this, not without making a scene. "All right," I said. "Good luck with that." I got back in the car, feeling lighter than I had in months. My mom yelled at me as I pulled out of the driveway, But I didn't care. For the first time in almost a year, I was free. Or so I thought. I had just settled into bed when my phone buzzed. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. And again. I groaned and finally answered it. What? My sister's voice came through, shaky and angry. Mom kicked us out. I blinked. What? She waited for you to leave. As soon as you were gone, she turned to Mark and said, "This isn't happening," and told us to get out. I sat up. Mark agreed to let you stay. Yeah, but Mom didn't. They started fighting, it got bad, and now we're all out. I rubbed my temples. We? Mark too. I pulled the phone away for a second and stared at it. Wait. Mark's out? Yep. He told Mom she was being ridiculous, so she told him to leave, too. This was getting better by the second. Let me get this straight. I said. Mom kicked you all out? Yes. She snapped. We're sitting outside the house right now. We have nowhere to go. I had to see this. I grabbed my keys and headed back over. This wasn't over yet. When I pulled up to my mom's house, I could hear the screaming from inside. My sister and Adam were standing on the lawn, arms crossed, watching the house like it was a live reality show. They didn't even acknowledge me when I got out of the car. They just kept staring at the windows where my mom and Mark were making out. I walked up to them. How long has this been going on? My sister didn't look away. Since you left. I could hear my mom's voice, sharp and angry. I told you, they don't live here. They will never live here. Mark's voice was deeper but firm. You're being unreasonable. They have nowhere else to go. My mother laughed, but not in a funny way. And whose fault is that? Kyle's the idiot who kicked them out. I rolled my eyes. Of course, she was still trying to pin it on me. Then Mark said something I wasn't expecting. You just don't want them here because you don't want to spend your money on them. Silence. Even my sister looked surprised. Then my mom exploded. Are you serious? Mark didn't back down. Tell me I'm wrong. Of course you're wrong. Then why is it okay for Kyle to take care of her, but not you? I grinned. Good question, Mark. My mom didn't answer right away. Instead, I heard footsteps rushing toward the front door. My sister and Adam immediately took a step back. The door swung open so hard it hit the wall. My mom stood there, her face flushed, breathing heavily, and her eyes immediately landed on me. You, she snapped, pointing. This is your fault. I crossed my arms. How exactly? You turned Mark against me. I looked over at Mark, who had just stepped out behind her, looking exhausted. I didn't say a word to him. Mark sighed. Janet, they need help. My mother spun around. Then help them. Mark rubbed his temples. That's literally what I was trying to do before you lost your mind and kicked us all out. That shut her up. For a second. Then something even weirder happened. Mark turned to me. Can I stay with you for a couple of days? I almost laughed. What? She kicked me out too. I'm not going to beg to stay in my own house. I need a place to think. I was speechless. My stepfather, the guy who usually supported my mom no matter what, was standing there asking me for a place to stay. And my mom? She lost it. You're choosing him over me? Mark looked at her, deadly serious. I'm choosing reason. Then she did something so crazy that even I wasn't prepared for it. She turned around, stormed back inside, and came out dragging a suitcase. Fine, she snapped. Then I'm leaving. We all just stared. You're leaving? I repeated. She huffed. I'm going to my sister's. Because no one in this family appreciates me. Then she threw her suitcase in the trunk of Mark's car, got in, and drove off. We all stood there stunned. My sister was the first to speak. So, what now? Mark sighed. Well, I guess I need a ride. Mark sighed and rubbed his temples. Well, I guess I need a ride. I was still processing everything. My mom had just left. She packed a bag, got in her car, and drove off like a rebellious teenager running away from home. "Are we really going after her?" I asked. Mark exhaled. "Yeah. If we don't, she'll just drag this out even longer." I didn't argue. At that point, I just wanted the night to end. We got in my car and drove to my mom's sister's house, which was about 20 minutes away. The whole drive, Mark didn't say much. He just stared out the window and shook his head from time to time. "Are you okay?" I finally asked. He let out a dry laugh. "I married a crazy woman." I grinned. "Took you long enough to figure that out." He shook his head. "I knew she was dramatic. I just didn't think she'd go this far." We pulled up to my aunt's house, and sure enough, my mom's car was parked in the driveway. The porch light was on, and through the window I could see my aunt sitting with her, probably listening to her rant about how everyone had turned against her. Mark sighed and got out. "Stay here." I leaned back in my seat. "Gladly." I watched through the window as Mark sat across from my mother. She waved her hands around, talking fast, but he just listened, nodding occasionally. Then he said something. And just like that, my mother froze. She stared at him, blinking. Whatever he had just said had completely thrown her. I sat up, trying to guess what it was. Then, slowly, my mom leaned back, arms crossed, and for the first time, she looked nervous. A few minutes later, she got up, grabbed her purse, and walked out the front door calm, quiet, completely different from the person who had stormed out an hour earlier. I rolled down the window as Mark followed her out. "What the hell did you say to her?" He opened my car door and grabbed his wallet from the glove compartment before heading to her car. "Told her if she ever pulled a stunt like that again, I'd cut her off from my business." I blinked. "Wait. What?" Mark owned a construction business. A successful one. My mom didn't work, had no real income, she just spent his money. I laughed. "And that worked?" He nodded. "Like a charm." My mom got in her car, and for the first time, she didn't even look at me. She just started the engine and waited for Mark. He turned back to me. "Thanks for the ride. Go home, Kyle. Get some sleep." I watched as he got into the car with her and drove off. I had expected a big fight, screaming, maybe even another dramatic exit. But no. Just a single sentence about money, and suddenly my mom was the calmest person in the world. Shaking my head, I got in my car and drove home. After all, I was finally free of this mess. Or so I thought. I was free for the first time in months. No freeloading sister. No freeloading brother-in-law. No constant arguments about money, jobs, or responsibilities. My apartment was quiet. Peaceful. Then one night my phone buzzed. "Asias, Mom's unbearable." I grinned. "Me, you just figured that out?" "Asias, no, I mean, like, it's bad. She complains all the time. She keeps saying we're ruining her life." I laughed out loud. Oh, how the tables have turned. Me, and yet she said I should have bought you a house. Asias, yeah, well, now she wants us to move out. That got my attention. Me, already? It's been, what, a week? Asias, yep. Me, what does Mark say? Asias, he's not having it. He keeps shutting her down. It's kind of hilarious. It actually surprised me. I assumed that my mom would win eventually, that she would throw enough tantrums until Mark would cave. But apparently he stood his ground. I figured that was the end of it. But then, a few nights later, my phone rang. "Mark." I frowned as I answered. "What's up?" Mark let out a tired sigh. "Come over." I blinked. Why?" "Because your mom is losing it, and I'm going to put an end to it. For good." As I pulled into the driveway, I could hear my mom screaming from inside the house. I walked in to find my sister and Adam sitting on the couch, looking like they had just been lectured to for hours. My mom was near the kitchen, pacing and waving her arms dramatically as she ranted. "They eat everything," she snapped. "They don't clean. They're loud. They don't contribute. They sit around all day and do nothing. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Out loud. She turned on me. Oh, you think that's funny? I nodded. Oh, I know it's funny. Her eye twitched. You're ruining my peace. I looked at my sister and Adam. Sound familiar? Adam had the nerve to look offended. My sister crossed her arms but remained silent. Then Mark walked in. All right, that's enough. My mom turned to him. Enough? You don't have to deal with Dash. Janet. Shut up. The whole room fell silent. I swear, even my sister's mouth fell open. My mother looked stunned. Excuse me? Mark didn't flinch. I've had enough of your whining. Either you accept that they're staying or you leave. She blinked. What? You heard me, Mark said. You don't want them here? Fine. You go. My sister whispered. Oh, damn. My mother scoffed. You're not serious. Mark crossed his arms. I am. You let Kyle struggle for months, telling him he had to help them. But now that it's on you, suddenly you can't handle it? My mother turned red. That's exactly what's happening. He cut her off. You thought Kyle owed them something, but you don't? I had never seen my mother speechless before. But she stood there, mouth agape, trying to find a way to argue. Mark sighed and rubbed his temples. Kyle doesn't owe anyone anything. And honestly, neither do I. That last part surprised me. Mark looked at her seriously. If you keep this up, I'm done. That means no more support. No more money. No more anything. My mother froze. I suddenly realized why Mark had called me here. He wanted a witness. Someone who would see him finally put her in her place. You wouldn't do that, my mom whispered. Mark just looked at her. Try me. Silence. Then, for the first time in her life, my mother backed down. She swallowed, folded her arms, and sat down on the couch, staring at the floor. Fine, she muttered. Mark turned to my sister and Adam. You two get jobs. Right now. Otherwise, you're out. They nodded immediately. No excuses. No arguments. Mark sighed and patted me on the back. Go home, Kyle. You're done with this mess. And just like that, I was. I walked out feeling something I never expected. Respect for my stepfather. And as I drove home, I realized something even better. For once in my life, my mother wasn't in control. Update. Well, things took another turn. I was finally enjoying my peace, thinking everything was settled. But then my sister called me last night whispering. Apparently my mom tried to kick them out again while Mark was at work. Told them to pack their bags and figure it out. But here's the best part. Mark came home early. He caught my mom in the middle of a tirade, standing over their half-packed suitcases. He lost it. Told her, You pulled that crap again, you're the one leaving. And guess what? She actually stormed out. Grabbed her purse, got in the car and drove off. My sister has no idea where she went. Mark just sighed, made himself a drink, and told her to ignore it. So yeah? My mom basically left her own house in a rage. Not my problem though. I'm just sitting here with popcorn, waiting to see if she crawls back.